Here's a look at your final prize pool across the board. We did see that $800,000 available up for EU earlier on in the day, or wherever your time zone might be. But now we're here in NAE. Every other region does, of course, have something to walk away with. But yeah, we're getting ready to hop into games very quickly, though. Guys, I want to take a moment to talk about my favorite thing in the world, Batman. Genius comes in many forms. Whether you're dangerously funny, creating havoc with wild plans, or flooding the island with your best intentions, it often comes along with a companion, Madness. Become everyone's nemesis with the Last Laugh bundle, featuring the Joker, Poison Ivy, Midas Rex, matching cosmetics, and 1,000 V-Bucks. You can pre-order the bundle through your favorite retailers, and it will be available on November 17th. So definitely check out the blog for all the details. And if you can't wait for more DC characters, Harley Quinn, Catwoman, and my personal favorite Batman will be back in the item shop for a limited time. And get their cosmetic sets before they disappear into the night. And of course, as always, Joyride has hit the game, but we will not be seeing vehicles in competitive play, so don't expect to see anybody doing anything crazy with those. Now, guys, we have to shift gears here and start talking about NA East. What have we seen? We've seen 4 heats, we've seen 4 winners, and now we're going to be taking a look and diving into the 100 players that will be joining us here. There's a lot of big names here. People like World Cup champion Booga, for example, just to name one of the 100.
I mean, that's an easy one to name right off of the bat. We've talked about him so much, but let's talk about the person who's in first place there, Energy Clicks, one of the few remaining players, and I believe the only one out of NA East who has qualified for literally everything since the Solo World Cup. Every FNCS final, every single World Cup, both solo and duos, he's made it there. He's able to contest towards the top. But you also have some of that Latin American invasion with P-God and Jelty pushing their way up top, and they've been playing phenomenal recently.
Yeah, you're talking about old versus new people coming right through. Everyone still has that history, but now those histories are starting to clash, right? Looking at Nanolite as well, who's such a good solo player, but fell off a little bit after one of those DreamHack performances, is now starting to rise straight back up. Liquid Gabe is also a cool name to pick up from the get-go. NRG Ronaldo, another NRG player who's usually watching all the people play it out, is in the fray this time, looking for his own chances to win.
Yeah, you know, he'll still be screaming in that microphone regardless if he's playing or doing a viewing party, but you also have Calc, who took the #1 spot yesterday in his heat, coming out there, as well as Stretch pushing through here. Vanish, Bully, and Sid, some players who have also capitalized. Have the veteran Lunez picking up in there as well, somebody who's returned recently, been able to have a good performance. But you mentioned the new guard, and Pure Skittles has been among it with some amazing mid and late game runs and conversions that he's then turned over into just huge point performances.
Yeah, Skittles ended up winning out his qualifier day. After that, went straight through those heats. Past that, though, we have Crims, Frat, 2 guys who are really keen on playing and practicing with each other, now have to face off from opposite sides of the map. Glace, the Uzi Wins, Degen are some fan favorites who have these smaller communities but have such a push behind them to come and win. And if you're talking about communities, you cannot forget Colazo, you can't forget Kaz, Kanata, these guys who are so keen on showing that they still have solo prowess. Their drops are good, their end game is good, and honestly with all these names, I'm just not sure who really has the advantage here to win today.
Yeah, you can see the veteran reverse 2K on that board as well. And we flip over to the last page. Booga, Blake, Hypnos, Lem, who had a great performance that we saw yesterday. Zentil also picking up a dub in heat #3 there. Rocks ended up with a phenomenal performance towards the back half, so should be running in on confidence. And also one quick little underlying storyline, just a little personal rivalry between teammates and to keep an eye on here. Calc and Macwood are contending back and forth to have the #1 amount of earnings between them when it comes to NA East online play. And they've kind of put it up. He's like, hey, by the way, today I'm taking back that spot because Zexro, who is also in that top 3 and plays with them, is falling out. He's not here. He's not contending in the final. Didn't have a bandage to save him this time. Didn't get that clutch run that he really needed. And these two are going to be competing back and forth to try and dethrone each other. So when we mean every little interaction matters, that's what we talk about. Sometimes it's not about first. It's just about beating that person next to you.
Yeah, there's an overall format that we saw and broke down before, but then there are all these personal stories that we will be highlighting. The casters will be pointing out between so many players. There's 100, as you said, Zeke, and it's so much to kind of take in and take account for.
Yeah, for sure. And perhaps if you're new watching for the first time, we've got 4 winners for you that have come out of the heats in the past. It could just be some very quick eyes to keep, watching as we move through the games here. So, Sundown, why don't I toss this over to you?
Yeah, so we're going to hop on board here. This is some of the recap of action that has gone through, and we're going to talk about some of the fan favorites and the one we've gone on. And let's go to 2 different sides of. So first, P-God, a.k.a. Peruvian God, who has probably the strongest presence when it comes to people in the chat. Can I get a Bible thump in the chat right now? Your favorite emo if you're watching in Party Royale for Mr. P-God, because we've seen his fans all over the place. And the thing is, he's been one of the few players in NA East who is able to enact consistent aggression. That means he's looking to take fights, and he's not afraid to trade out with players at all stages of the game. And you see a great late game run there, and that's something he does very well. He's not content to just get that one elimination and then box up. He's looking to chain them into more, and when he's able to do that successfully, it ends up on going on some of these crazy runs where you don't think that really shouldn't be possible, right? There's no way he should win this game, right, in this situation, and yet all of a sudden, vamos P-God.
Yeah, he literally gets his name into so many other people's sightlines and stories. Always say he's the man that plays with 20 item slots because he has so many eliminations per game. But on the other side of things, a man looking for control, stretch, is always one who has a game plan that he sticks to that works out. He's always dominating lobbies completely. And if P-God is looking for trades, Stretch is looking to end fights fast and make sure that every trade is absolutely silent. He always has an advantage when he's rolling into boxes, whether that's position or anything else, and he barely even takes any damage when he's just pick up, and then he ends up winning out games from that slide.
And one thing I want to note about in particular that we're starting to see from the very, very top players when it comes to closing out these games or being in these final situations is it's kind of a term, it's not really something we refer to a lot, but it's a no build skill. It's when you're out of builds, you don't have all that utility, and you're just stuck to your raw gun skill, movement, and what's on the map around you. And there's very few players who are able to kind of separate themselves and put themselves in a category where it's like, hey, you play really well in this circumstance. Stretch is 110% one of them. I would say Mongrel is another one who you can put in anytime he's out of builds. You don't really ever count him out of it.
There's a guy named Not Builds who's playing today, so maybe he is the mastermind behind this entire game strategy and plan. I hope that he brings that to fray. If he's an end game, maybe that's what's happening, but who knows?
Guys, as we get ready to hop into these games, I mean, what do you think we can expect? Now, out of EU, it was a long time. We thought it was all set. And then Tayson shows up, drops this massive game in Game 5, and then holds on. Do you guys think we could see that in NA East just based on the way they play? Do you think we're going to see a little bit of a change-up? Maybe someone comes out and then just, leaves everyone in the dust? What do you guys think? Sun, I'll start with you.
So we've kind of talked about how the pacing of a 6-game tournament plays out. After the first game, who's able to really separate themselves? Or is it a couple players who got 5 and 6 eliminations and then someone was able to convert? Then you really can kind of tell the shape of the game, or the shape of the tournament itself after games number 2 and 3. And in Europe in particular, while we saw that there was a little bit of a lead, it was never more than 4 eliminations until Tayson capitalized. So what that means, in my opinion, is we're waiting for somebody to put a stamp on this tournament and then seeing how everyone else reacts. And I think NA East is ripe for that, particularly because it doesn't feel like there's been a definitive favorite to really step up to the plate and say, like, this is my region and I can drop that 10, 11, 12-point victory royale when it matters.
There is no definitive favorite. I agree with that, but I feel like there still is a pattern in NA East. You guys notice on the map at the bottom side, there's these mountains. In the middle, it's natural low ground, and near the top, there's a lot of water. For NA East, I think it's the zones, and what zones we see repeated throughout these 6 games. There are certain players that are very good at winning out natural low ground consistently, like Calculator, right? BBG Calc. But there's other players too, when the zone starts to get high, Liquid Stretch, he's very good at taking games back to back to back, depending on where the map is going, if it's on their drop spot, if the Shockwave launcher is a little bit better when it comes to mountains versus natural low ground. So for NA East, I think it'll depend on where these end games actually end up ending.
Okay, all right. We'll have to see how things go. Let's take a look at some of the winners from the past. Now, kind of add to this, and kind of tie all winners from the past. Now, kind of add to this, and kind of tie all of these things together. We've also seen those mythic weapons play a very big role in some of this. And over in OCE, we had the winner Jinxie Fishy holding down this title, 75 points, boys. I mean, Sundown, this is massive.
I think the bigger thing is the average place is going to for ambulance to flip on over there to how close that region really was. Then over to the Middle East, you have Cash Cup Warrior, aka AFMR. Fire Frog picking that one up there, 62 points, the victory royale, 15 eliminations, average place just outside the top.
Yeah, I would have said that FNCS winner or warrior if you wanted to, but really good run for him over there on the Middle East. With these three regions that we just saw the winners of, it was really, really close on all ends the whole time through, but we've been talking about it for Tayson. He was behind the pack the whole time. Winning out Europe was no easy feat. Comes through all the way from Game 5 and holds things up near the top. I think it was a 12 elimination finish that he had overall. It was absolutely insane what he pulled off.
Man, guys, guess what time it is? Time to start things off here in NAE. So for now, let's go over to our flight path.
So very much, Zeke, and here we have it. It's all come down to this. It's the FNCS Grand Finals, game number 1, just about to be underway. Lost face here, Ozzy and Kit. I am so excited for the games that are going to unfold. The roster is ridiculous. It is absolutely stacked, and we're not going to hold it back any longer. We're going to jump straight into game 1 of the NA East FNCS Solo Grand Finals. Monster, just how excited are you for this one? Absolutely. I'm at peak. I'm at the pinnacle here, and it's the battle bus that is underway. And take a look. Here's the night spread across the map. How your players are spreading across. Now, let's keep in mind, guys, after all is said and done, one player is going to take home that Axe of Champion. Only one player in the region will be able to wield it. And I'm already noticing that P-God over in Holly Hedges has someone contested. And I love that the camera shot was panning this way because this is going to be one of the most exciting players, one of the most exciting early gauge engagements that we are going to want to follow right now. How is P-God going to be able to perform today? Are we going to get the P-God that is going to go crazy every single game and carry it through? Or are we going to get the P-God that has to clutch up towards the tail ends to pick up the big points? That's going to be the name of the game for P-God today. But today, he is contested here by Chimp.
Yeah, we talked about it yesterday. He did so well in the qualifiers when he was contested, and yesterday when he wasn't, he did well but didn't do as well. So I'm not too worried for him here. When we're talking about Storm Surge, talking about these insanely stacked lobbies, sometimes being contested isn't so bad if you're someone as good as P-God at closing it out, which he starts off with a really nice 46 tag, waiting behind that bush. He knows this drop spot so well. He's had it on lockdown for weeks upon weeks. Gets the crash pad in. This is someone who has won a qualifying week from home. If you are just tuning in, you haven't been following NAE, so this is a very big engagement off the bat. If P-God goes down here, it would be a large upset to kick off NA East, and that's why we love NAE so much, Monster. It is always, every single fight is so important.
You're noticing those chug splashes go off here, so P-God knows the player is already healed back up from the distance that he started. He's going to land a big charge pump shot to kick this off. It's going to go in his favor. Now looking for the control of the walls. And you have to think the enemy he's fighting is probably running out of builds here. This has been a bit drawn out for early game engagement. And yes, another big follow-up. Can he get one more? Ooh, that was way closer than what it needed to be. But P-God with a single point to kick off the competition.
Yeah, it just shows the confidence. You love to see this out of P-God. Coming out game 1, not scared to take the fight. He set up for it. He wasn't over-aggressive. He was smart with how he engaged, but you knew he backed himself to win that one. And P-God putting himself on the board very early, and maybe that drop play might even change. They might not go Holly Hedges next game. We'll have to see as Avery gets into a fight here as well. Just down near the rig, down on the south side near Slurpee Swamps, gets the tack shots in and takes him down. Heater falling here to Avery, 1 point on the board as well. So we've already seen 2 of the 4 players going down here, so still staying pretty stacked, but we're getting the action.
Let's not forget, Avery has just been outside the top 10 on the week qualifiers. His best game 11 throughout the course of the competition lead-up. So someone to keep your eye out on that maybe hasn't been at the top, but could be knocking on that door. We'll see. Spike, on the other hand, has a lot to prove here as well. As an up-and-comer on the scene, just rotating outside of retail row. Looking for the big snipe shot, going down range, not going to find it that time, but he's telling everyone he's well and aware and ready to do the do here. Looking at the map there, it looks like there's another player nearby. This dude's not looking too great. Yes, he's going to have to farm up and get situated here.
Yeah, he's going to have to maybe even try and find a pack in the waters. Maybe very high chance of him scoring around here, being center map. Or can he land that sniper shot? He can. Zentil full. I was just about to say, Spike either has to land a hunting rifle shot or find some marauders, because 2 chug splashes going into this part of the game where there's not much loot to offer, but there's a lot of loot to offer there from Zentil now.
Just like that, that's going to be one down. Another point swinging in the favor. Here's Cody from Team Timbers. We talk about this Latin community, Hispanics stepping up to the plate, and Cody's got, oh my gosh, he's got the mythic loot. He's got the caddy's corner on lock here. All of Kit's mythic weapons and arsenal in his loadout, and the Vault key card to play with it. Whoever was defending this place off, you can see though, according to the mini-map there, they've rotated out, so Cody is off to a very, very dominant start. This is looking super favorable for him right now, as he's going to be able to gain access to the loot. Let's see what goodies are going to lie inside. You have to only assume that he's going to be completely capped off, and this might be a game that is going to go in his favor. Hold up now, though.
Yeah, last time we saw Cody coming out of caddy corners with all the loot, he did end up winning the game. And this is someone who's been dropping caddy corners every single game of every qualifier, everything he's played in. You see some people kind of testing the waters, knowing how strong that mythic loot is, but then wanting the consistency so they don't go back there. Cody has been dropping there the whole time. No one has more experience at this drop than Cody. And if you are tuning in from home and you tuned into the heats, there was a bit of drama around this drop spot, as Zayt did not qualify for grand finals because this drop was too heavily contested. So I think it would have been a big shake-up for Cody if Zayt was in contention today, but Cody having it between him and one other player, he's got a very good chance to walk away with that loot consistently, so someone to 100% look out for.
You agree, and here's a little info bit right there for you. Booga, Kaz, Stretch Crims, Kanata, Clicks, Calc have all competed in every single FNCS.
Wow.
And let's not forget, Booga's on fire yesterday, coming in 6th for his heat.
Oi, oi,
Coming out of
oi, oi,
NAE's
oi.
heat number 4.
Oi, 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 oi. Agora eu pude pegar o fone.
As is Cody. I mean, Cody came 3rd in his heats. I know we're just talking about it.
O que aconteceu com o seu celular? É porque acabou a bateria do meu celular. Oh, se liga, se liga, se liga. Se liga. Eu vou pescar ele. Eu vou pescar esse aqui.
Thing about NA East, it is going to be packed right from the top to the bottom. Every zone, we're going to expect loads and loads of players to stay alive. There are still 95 players in the game, Ozzy, and the first zone is only halfway through closing. That means of all the fights so far, we've literally captured about 3 of them on broadcast. We are literally seeing all of the action right now because of how intense it is on the NA East region.
Yeah, NA East, they know how to play their games, they know how to play stack lobbies, and we're going to see who can manage their
a solo competitor. Almost seems like he came out of nowhere in the recent times. Just coming back, showing players that, hey, this vet here still has what it takes to compete on the grand final stage. Ladies and gentlemen at home, this is game number 1. If you are tuning in, we do appreciate it. That's going to be a big down there, though. Aussie, that was Cody.
That was Cody. I have to know who gets that loot because this elimination, while being important, is 1 point. I need to know who gets that mythic loot because that is going to change the game massively. If you're not dropping caddy corners, but you end up with the caddy corner loot, like we saw with Calc yesterday, Calc dropped, I think it was an 8 elimination win or close to it because he got his hands on that caddy loot because he found it in the mid to end game. So whoever has now found that, as I say, Calc goes down to Colazo. So players dropping now as Storm Surge, I believe, is going active and we have 12 people to fall. But if we can get a sight on who exactly has that shockwave launcher, it could play massively into this end game if it's a big name who's been performing and not used to having the added advantage of 2 mythic items.
Take a look at this, though. It's P-God back in another skirmish here. I see 4 different players, 4 individuals stacked up on top of one another off of this rotate here from west to east, trying to get to the safety of the new zone. P-God yesterday did this as well. He was playing off of these non-dead side rotates. I mean, he's just walking directly to the zone and taking battles along the way. We saw that halfway through the competition. It worked against them. We'll see, though, but no, not this time. It doesn't matter. P-God's going to react with the quickness there onto Uzi. Uzi is an up-and-comer as of late. He has been on fire, but P-God shuts that out. He puts the fire out.
Shuts it out quick. That was such a good, quick flick with the charged shotgun, too. That's a hard shot. If you just watched and you missed what happened there, the other player crash padded straight into the back of the box. P-God didn't see the player coming through because the builds were breaking, and then just split-second reaction flicks with the beautiful charged shotgun shot. And P-God's now got 3 eliminations on the board coming into endgame with the peppers as well. So he's got that extra mobility to maybe make that next rotate. And you touched on it just then, Monster. He doesn't really exactly go for the safe rotates. He'll go up against players and back himself in fights just like that. And now he's getting his Storm Surge tags. He's getting his damage on the board as we still have Storm Surge active right now. There is still 1 player getting hit by Storm Surge in this lobby as 71 players are still alive.
I just want to say that is probably the 2nd or 3rd time we've seen a ridiculous shot like that come out of P-God. But here's Skittles finding himself a nice little ridiculous elim onto Avery, who was so lit up on the run from an opponent. And although Skittles may not be able to grab the rewards, Rubified is going to scoop that up. It's okay. He's got a nice free point to
Yo no soy gay. Por eso. No sé.